Hi guys, so Donald Trump received a bit of flack yesterday regarding comments he made during a press briefing about injecting infected patients with disinfectant. Now he responded after that, because it blew up online and in the media. He responded by saying it was sarcasm. So let's hear what he has to say.
Clarify your comments about injections of disinfectant.
No, I was asking a question sarcastically to reporters like you, just to see what would happen.
So you're asking a question to reporters sarcastically. Okay, first of all, your job is not to ask journalists questions or reporters questions. Your job is to answer questions. We don't see any other politician doing this. You don't see a politician having a back and forth with a journalist. The politician responds to the questions. The politician is there to give information, not to have a conversation, not to joust on some particular topic. And also, well, let's hear what he has to say.
Now, disinfectant for doing this, maybe on the hands, would work. And I was asking the question of the gentleman who was there yesterday, Bill, because when they say that something will last 3 or 4 hours or 6 hours, but if the sun is out or if they use disinfectant, it goes away in less than a minute. Did you hear about this yesterday? But I was asking a very sarcastic question.
So it wasn't just a sarcastic question, it was a very sarcastic question. What was the very sarcastic question?
To the reporters in the room about disinfectant on the inside. But it does.
Why would you be asking journalists about infecting or injecting people with disinfectant? You're surrounded by medical experts. Why would you be asking a journalist a question about something they have no understanding about?
It does kill it, and it would kill it on the hands, and that would make things much better. That was done in the form of a sarcastic question to the
Donald Trump doesn't understand the meaning of sarcasm. What I think what's happened here is like sarcasm. Okay, first of all, understand what sarcasm is, and then attempt to use it as an excuse. Maybe it's because his supporters don't understand sarcasm either, so he just knows, well, there's this word called sarcasm, so I'll just use that as an excuse.
reporters.
So you were
Okay.
You said you were being sarcastic, but some people may have been.
So now Donald Trump is in the pose, like the upset child pose. He goes into this pose, he folds his arms, he sits back and he folds his arms, like, I don't want to be here. I didn't get my lollipop, and I'm going to pout and sulk until I get my lollipop.
Misunderstood you. Do you want to just clarify?
Well, I wish they wouldn't. I wish they would. Well, I think I did, but I wish they wouldn't. But I do.
But you haven't clarified anything. If you wanted to clarify, you could say, look, I asked a question. I'm not qualified to ask that question. I asked a question. Why the hell you would ask a journalist this question? It'd make more sense to ask one of his medical staff, one of his medical experts this question. Could we do something like this? And the medical expert would respond, of course we can't do that. We can't inject people with disinfectant. Donald Trump doesn't seem to understand that, if you rub a disinfectant on your hands, it's different than putting it inside your body. He doesn't seem to understand that. Really, I'm explaining this. I'm laughing because I have to explain this. Donald Trump doesn't understand the difference between outside the body and inside the body.
I do think this. Yeah, I do think that disinfectant on the hands could have a very good effect. Now, Bill is going back to check that in the laboratory. It's an amazing laboratory.
It's an amazing laboratory. It's not just a standard one. It's an amazing one.
By the way, it's amazing the work they do. So he's going to check because a hard surface. This is a hard surface. I guess maybe depending on whose hand you're talking about.
So now he doesn't understand the difference between soft surfaces and hard surfaces. He doesn't understand the difference between outside the body and inside the body. And he doesn't understand the difference between sarcasm and non-sarcasm.
Right? But this is a hard surface. And disinfectant, the disinfectant has an unbelievable, it wipes it out.
You would think that somebody who doesn't understand something would understand enough to keep quiet about it. You know, if you don't understand something, it makes sense, especially if there's a camera in front of you, if there's hundreds of millions of people watching you. You would think, okay, look, I don't know much about this, so I'll keep my mouth shut. But Donald Trump doesn't have this ability. You know, anything I say is limited by the audience that will hear it. So if I say something stupid, there's a limit to how many people hear that stupidity. So I try to reduce the amount of stupidity I say. Or if I say something really stupid, I will attempt to correct it later. Donald Trump doesn't do this. Donald Trump just blabs and blabs and blabs, irrespective of what he knows and irrespective of whether it's true or not.
You know, you saw it. Sun and heat and humidity, wipe it out.
Sorry, I thought you were... This was... This was an attempt to explain that the entire question was sarcastic. And now he's doubling down on the so-called facts regarding the value of what the treatment he was talking about in the original question. So let's just take a step back here. So what did he do? He talked about injecting people with disinfectant in order to kill the virus. He was asked, why did you say that? And he realized it was a pile of crap. So he said, oh, it was a sarcastic question. Not a sarcastic statement, but a sarcastic question. Okay. To a journalist, to a reporter. Okay, so we're already down the rabbit hole here. And instead of saying, look, I made a mistake or I didn't know what I was talking about, no, he doubles down. Or even instead of defending the point that it's sarcastic, using a sarcastic voice, even if he used a sarcastic voice, he could get away with saying it was sarcastic. But let's say for a second, it was sarcastic. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Why would you be using sarcasm during a press briefing? The press briefing is to give information to the public. People listen to this. People look to you for leadership. They shouldn't, but they do. So why would you be using sarcasm without a sarcastic voice and using sarcasm with people who would be listening to you, who would trust you, who don't understand sarcasm in the same way you don't?
And this is from tests. They've been doing these tests for, a number of months. And the result, so that I said, well, how do we do it?
You notice that he doesn't finish a sentence. So, and the result is, and I was saying, he does this all the time. He doesn't finish a sentence with a conclusion. He cuts halfway through the sentence and starts talking about something else.
Do it inside the body or even outside the body with the hands, and disinfectant, I think would work. He thinks would work.
I thought you were being sarcastic before. Now you're saying, I think it would work. So are you being sarcastic again? So this is just insane. You have this guy, Donald Trump, saying stupid crap. Then he's called out on it and he says his excuse is, I was being sarcastic. And then instead of saying, look, I was being sarcastic and finishing that and saying, look, I'm sorry if people got the wrong impression or whatever. I was being sarcastic. That's it. Finish. No, he doubles down to defend the original comment that he made.
But you use it when you're doing your hands. I guess that's one of the reasons they say wash your hands. But whether it's washing your hands or disinfectant on your hands, it's very good.
Whether it's very good. Okay.
They're gonna start looking at that, okay?
But just to clarify that, sir, are you encouraging you're not encouraging Americans to?
No, of course,
object?
no, of course, that was, interior-wise, it said sarcastically, it was put in the,
How do you know, like, now you're saying, yeah, it was sarcastically. First, as I said before, why were you saying sarcastic comments to people who listen to you to get information?
form of a question to a group of extraordinarily hostile people.
So you were jousting with these people instead of actually giving information to the public. So you weren't there to give information to the public, which allegedly these press briefings are about. You were there to fight with journalists. Then what's the point in having these press briefings? Really, what's the point of it? Why not just give a sheet of paper to someone who's an intern, and they come out and they read it, and then they turn around and walk away? What's the point in you being there if you're just going to joust and fight with reporters?
Namely, the fake news media. Okay,
Some doctors
so,
felt they needed to clarify that after.
well, of course, all they had to do was see it was just, you know the way it was asked. I was looking at you, you know, I know.
I was looking at you. Well, really, how far have we fallen that we have the so-called leader of the free world telling people, telling the masses that it's okay or they should inject themselves with disinfectant? And when he's called out on it, his response is, I was being sarcastic with a journalist. I don't know what more to say. You know, sometimes when I think about these things, I think about how we used to think of George W. Bush as the bottom of the barrel. We would consider him as the epitome of American idiocy. And now we're regarding him as somewhat of an reasonably intelligent individual. Donald Trump has lowered the bar so far. I really don't think it's possible for the next president to be worse than this. Unless the next president really has some sort of mental deficiency. But you have here the President of the United States talking about injecting people with disinfectant as a cure for this virus. And when he's called out, he resorts to quote-unquote sarcasm. That's all I have to say. I can't wait to hear your comments in the comments section. Thanks, guys.